Hello, David. Can you hear me?
Hi.
Hey, how's it going?
Yes,
Great. Well,
e-
it's been a minute. How have you been?
everything's. It's not been a minute. It's been a year since we've talked.
Yeah,
Six
it's like a
months, I
New
mean.
York minute. I was actually gonna say I have a compliment for you. One thing I'd like to say about you is you're quite a Chad, which in America means a go-getter. I don't talk to you for quite some time. I call you and say things have been crazy, and you're like, all right, well, let's do a call right now, and that's exactly the right attitude. So I respect that and admire that about you.
Oh, you got me at the right time, actually. Believe it or not. That's why it's like I was free. It's because there's big things going on, especially today. It's like in the last 2 months, I've had two new books out, two of the best that I've ever written, and the thing is, they've been very controversial.
Yeah.
Let me show you what they are. One of them is Secrets of the Kabbalah. Now, for example, the Kabbalah is a subject that many people can read in many places. It takes them years to understand. Some books about the Kabbalah even cost you $1,000. Do you know this? To
Right.
buy,
Yeah.
just
Absolutely.
to buy. Yeah. So, for example, Albert Pike, and then there's Albert Mackey, for example, for masonry. So I did books about the secrets of masonry, and you've read my books before. They get straight to the point.
Right.
It's like you could read hundreds of books, you could study hundreds of websites, hundreds of views and opinions, but you still will not be able to describe the 33rd degree in like 5 minutes. It's because it's something that it's not clear in the information wherever you're reading it, and you'll try to describe it. You'll say, "Oh, it's a conspiracy," or "They're doing this, they're doing that," and you could just go on and on forever. But so these two new books, it's like um, they are the two new things that I've just done, and it's like they've gone crazy.
Right. It's
Yes,
amazing also that Mind Unveiled and all these videos that are coming out, people are starting to catch on to work that you've been doing for years. But yeah, it's amazing to get into the Kabbalah. I mean, I was reading the Sefer Yetzirah recently, talking about the 32 mysterious paths of wisdom, right? 32 and 0. And you can think of the spine and the 32 vertebrate, which Albert
33,
Pike mentions.
33, by the way, it's 33
Right. 30,
bones in the
32 and 0, right? Because 0 is a number.
Yes, okay. Yes. Well, let me tell you about the spine. It's actually, this is very worrying, but many people will think I'm just talking an opinion, but I don't want them to think of opinion.
Right.
Like, I want them to think realistically, money, millions of dollars
Yeah.
or billions of dollars. Now, I've been involved in business, and business is all about getting results. It's about getting money.
Yeah.
Yes. So, for example, when you see brand names, it's like I showed this to many people, but people don't seem to think very quick. It's like the people who invented, let's say, I'll send you a picture of many brands, and the people who invented the brands, they know that you're looking at these pictures, you're looking at the colors,
Mm-hmm.
yes. And the thing is, unfortunately, there's been some people who don't seem to understand this thing. But the reality is, most people think of brands in their teenage years. In the teenage years, you think of the opposite sex, yes, or whatever you're
Oh,
attracted to.
interesting. Right. So in the Gestalt, yeah, like so the mass psychology of sexuality through
Yes.
through logos. Yeah.
Unfortunately, it's based on sexuality. Now, my book 33 Degrees goes into this. Yes, I've given many diagrams to explain it, and other things like, for example, um, when people read the Bible, they don't seem to know how much of a joke or a game it's playing with you. Like, for example, it's like the Kabbalists and other people, they wrote the Bible, nothing to do with God. So, for example, you can meet God. So they're saying a man called Jacob, or the prophet Jacob, long ago, he met God. Yes, and you could read this and have a look. Where did he meet God or see him face to face? Where?
Right. It seems like there's some sort of uh, so what are you saying here then about the phallus in
I've sent
God?
you a page. I've
Right.
sent you a page from the book 33rd Degree. Have you not received it?
I see the Genesis Bible Hub 3230. So Jacob named the place Peniel.
Yes,
Okay.
Peniel. So now the thing is, we just seem to read these things. We think it's religious books. We seem to believe anything. And they told us it's history. It happened a long time ago. And he met God in a place called Peniel.
Right.
Yes. And basically, some people will say it's a dream or something like this, or he basically met God in
This
that
is
place.
very interesting because recently, again, in studying the Kabbalah, we've read a lot about the idea of washing of the feet being washing of the genitals, right? And so there's a number of other verses that seem to tie into this.
But wait, I'm going to
But
show
wait,
you.
there's more. All right, I believe you, David. You go.
Yeah, go on. Yes, something that's even more crazy. So now we've got the place Peniel, you can meet God there. And you do know that all these religions, they say the chakra, the third eye. In Judaism, open your third eye. In Buddhism, the eye. In Hinduism, with the chakra, they put the dots on their head, the eye of Horus. And then just above the third eye, you put the tefillin in
Wow.
Judaism. And they say this is the pineal
The
gland.
pineal gland, right. Okay, well,
Yes.
this is
Now
interesting.
I want you to think. Now the pineal gland is just it's the center of your brain, they say.
It's
And
just the
they'll
tip,
say,
right?
so now you will notice why was it called pineal in the Bible over there? And we do know the Vatican is the one who published the Bibles, and then evangelists come along, and what they're doing is they're trying to give new meanings, trying to make the churches friendly, Christianity, Christ. But the thing is, they don't understand these books were published by your dad and my dad, called Papa, the dad, the great godfather. Yes, they published it. So it doesn't matter if it's a new meaning. Selling the Bible, books is a business. In the old days, it was slavery, enforcing you and other things into the farms, making money. You were their slaves. So that's the pineal gland. Now, when you get at the top of the 33 bones on your vertebrae, so let me just show you, and you are going to be totally shocked. You're going to think, oh my God, what the hell is this? Now, that at the 33. So now what people don't realize is when you look at the spine, yes, this is to do with brand names and to do with alphabets and to do with the 33rd degree. So the spine has got 33 bones. I just say bones, they call it vertebrae. I'm using easy words. 33 bones. Now at the top there's 19 bones. Now those 19s they say represents the heavens. Yes, and that's why they say that there's 12 at the top and the seven. The seven represents the sun, the moon, and the five big planets that you could see without the telescopes. Yes, and then the 12 star signs. And then you've got the others at the bottom. But the 12 plus the 7 makes 19. And that's why classical astronomy was based on 19. Remember, we mentioned the 19. Now, this will explain squaring the circle in masonry. Many people don't know what is squaring the circle. You know, the compass and the square. So
Hmm.
now, as you this is from my book, 33rd Degree. So then when you get to the bottom bone, just below that, yes, what do you call it? Just below the bottom bone, you come to your penis or the penis.
Of course.
You see? So that's why when you start with the penis, when you're looking at something with your penis or the opposite sex, then you know what? They say that you've achieved the 33rd degree, you find God. In other words, it's just sexual. You see? That's the secret of the 33rd degree. So that's why in the symbols, not just the symbols, what they've done is it's just such a shocking, yes.
Well, I mean, it's
It's
interesting to say, like, it's kind of reductionist to say it's just sexual, right? I mean, like, sexuality is associated
there's
with.
more than sexual. It's like you know that if you saw a girl because of her looks, you cannot control. Not most people who are young, they cannot control their emotions. A lot of it is based on looks, which is the reality. We saw it in school, we saw it in high school, we saw it in university.
Right. Well, there's
Yes.
physics and symmetry, right? And it seems like this is like Wilhelm Reich on the mass psychology of sexuality and fascism, right? The control
Yeah.
of sexuality
Yeah.
and then.
Yeah. We can use these posh words, but the reality is, it's
Okay.
like I've worked as vice chairman or vice president in companies, things like this in what do you call it, in brand promotion companies, in big companies. I'm talking
Right.
valued at $1 billion and things like this. So
Well,
I've done these.
I guess what I'm asking just really quickly is, are you saying that it's a bad thing? Or you? It sounds like you're saying sexuality is a bad thing. Don't you see it as having an
What
important
I'm
quality?
trying to say is this: if I'm selling a product, yes, I'm
Yes.
going to think how. Let's say if I'm
S-
selling shoes,
Sell it with
I'm going to
sex.
turn around and think that, for boys, I will think, how am I going to market this product
Right.
so that boys will think it's going to attract the opposite sex? Like for example, I remember when we were teenage, and there were some people who had teenage spots, and then they used to turn around and say, "Hey, you'll get more girls." Or things like this. If you use this one, it'll get rid of your spots, you'll attract the opposite sex. But they're doing it in the media. It's a fact. So
Hmm.
now the thing is, that's okay. But the thing is, yes, so the thing is about the masonry or the machinery. From a young age, children are learning A, B, C, D, E, F, G. They don't know who decided the shapes, when they decided the shapes, and how. The people who invented the alphabets, yes, what people don't realize is that there was the Jesuits and other people, and what they did is they have big meetings, they have big offices, they had votes on designing the shapes of alphabets like Cyrillic or Greek or Latin or Sanskrit or anything. None of these alphabets are old, or modern Arabic, everything like. Have a look. Is the Vatican councils. And we can see over there, these are the big meetings, but in small rooms that they have the meetings in the groups, same like in a company, you have each department, 10, 15, 20 people. You think, how are we going to do this logo? Is this product for boys? Is it for girls? Now that's okay. But what if you're doing this and you put this and used it to manipulate history
Of course.
and you forged history? That's the problem. So now the thing is, what I've gone through is there's a professor, famous professor called Professor Anatoly Fomenko. He shows that most of world history is a lie. Like for example, he shows, even though many people don't like it, he shows that the Prophet Muhammad was in Europe and he was basically European. Yes,
Right.
and that Islam came from Europe. Now many people find it hard to believe, but the thing is,
It's
if you,
easier if you
for
tell them
example,
it's Eurasia. For some reason, if you call it Eurasia, people already start to like when you call it Europe, they have their
he was from
ideological.
Europe. It's a fact.
Yeah.
It's like, do you know what the worst thing is? They are telling us, for example, we have a book called the Quran. Yes, and they're telling us that this book called the Quran came from Saudi Arabia. And unfortunately, the reality is, this information is in my books, 33 Degrees Kabbalah and other books. The reality is, Saudi Arabia looks like this just 50, 60 years ago, before the 1980s, 1970s. The majority were poor. They were like this. They couldn't read or write or anything. Like, for example, many of these people, pictures, Muslims took them, or even Western people like here. This is a picture from 1946 in Mecca. Would you imagine Mecca in Saudi Arabia looking like this? People like that, in 1950. Would you imagine that?
I mean, right? We. It's hard. It's hard to say. So an American might, because an American doesn't understand. But if you were to go look at Mecca today, right? Mecca is. I mean, you've got
Skyscrapers,
half of the world is
modern.
Muslim, and they've put all the effort into making Mecca one of the nicest places that have ever existed, if not.
It's so modern that you can't even compare Times Square to it,
Right.
or even Shibuya in Japan. It's like
Exactly.
it's so modern and it's just
Futuristic.
unbelievable. But
Space age.
then, if we look at 1946, so now here is what do you call it? Yes, you can read this if you want. Read it actually,
Okay.
because these are historical facts that you can't lie about because these people are still alive. They're old now, grandparents they call them.
Okay, so
Yes.
referring to the photo in the previous slide, figure one, this photograph shows two Saudi boys at a well near the town of Al Khun Fuda in Mecca or Makkah province of Saudi Arabia, March 31st, 1946. At the time, the developing oil industry had not yet begun to change the country. The amazing aspect of the image is that it could easily have been taken centuries, if not 2 millennia earlier. Notice the camel that helped create the trade routes about 930 to 900 BC. Absolutely nothing had changed in Arabia for centuries. Only the one boy's shirt looks the least bit modern. The people of Saudi Arabia were among the poorest and the most backward in the world. The photograph is not in accord with the Western image of Arabia, but this is how most of the people of Arabia dressed. These boys were, of course, poor, but this was the state of most of the population.
What we're looking at is like Amazon forest. There's many people there, and somebody can go there and give them a shirt. That the shirt that looks modern. It's like somebody went there for the Muslim pilgrimage and gave it like for a charity or something. The shirt was made in modern machinery, maybe in Turkey. There's 500,000 Turks every year who go to Saudi Arabia for this holy pilgrimage. But if we look at Mecca today, it's like totally a modern city that you can't even compare it. Electronics, whatever, so clean or whatever. Not even like Western cities. And the cars and all the other things, the rich luxury, that these Arabs have and everything. Yeah, of course, there's going to be many poor pilgrims coming from all over the world. But we're talking about it's like a top-notch place.
Right.
Yes, and how they control the weather and how they made the streets cooler using such technology in Mecca
Literally.
and Medina also. Yeah, it's unbelievable that many of the things people who've been to these places are saying it's just unbelievable. But the fact is, when you look at those people, now the Quran is a religious book and it's got many things philosophical there. And the thing is, it's got an advanced sort of language there. Many of the words are in the European languages, the majority, I would say, from the Quran in many European languages. The pictures or the reality of what Saudi Arabia what it was, yes, can you even say that the Quran came from there or the Arabic language came from there? And they're saying these people had trade routes. Naked people having trade routes? That's fake history. So even in the 1970s and 80s, when it started slowly changing because of the oil, that's how they were dressed, still like not properly dressed. Yes. Are you trying to? And then they're telling us the Arab-Israeli wars, the Saudis would have invaded. Do they look like they would have invaded Israel? It's just a media show. That's the 33rd degree. Yes, the evidence shows that 666, or what they call the beast, in the New Testament or in Islamic tradition, they call it the Dajjal or the Antichrist. The evidence shows the Antichrist came about 200-300 years ago. And Professor Fomenko, for example, shows the Apocalypse, was written, just 400 years ago or maximum 500 years ago. So I've gone through this in my book, 33rd Degree, to show how the beast is already here. It came a few centuries ago. People don't realize millions, maybe even a billion people, maybe more, are worshipping the beast already. But anyway, so the thing is, it's not a joke. The pen, how you write things, and the penis.
Right.
Then you climb the 33rd degree, you're going to see God there in your brain. You don't see a God there. When you think, you meditate, or your enlightenment or your consciousness, it's just your thoughts. You could be on drugs and think you've seen God, but that's what you see there. In other words, this is the 33rd degree. Now, the only way that will work is if we have a sexual society. Yes, or an open society to encourage sex from a young age. Yes, so that's why they say open your pineal gland and then you will be able to see. So, but what do you see? You see no God because there is no God in your pineal gland. It's your brain, for Pete's sake. You see? So the thing is, this is what my book goes through. And the thing is, many people don't realize that the brainwashing is so big. It's so big that we've been indoctrinated since childhood that even if we want to be a truther or somebody, how are you going to get these shapes and designs of the alphabet out of your head? Like, for example, why do they say the word S? Why can't we say it's sa or os? the letter S, because S sounds like a snake. So it's in the shape of a snake, and it's the 19th letter to do with 19, and it's the symbol for the dollar too, the symbol for greed also.
Right.
So the thing is,
And the
yeah,
spine
so
is this serpent for Kundalini, which is,
yeah, yeah. The Kundalini. Yes, you're beginning to see now. Yes, Kundalini power, the snake power. You're beginning to see it, the 19 and the 33. That's called squaring the circle. Now, people can spend years and they probably won't understand these things. So, about the Kabbalah and the 33rd degree. So I put um, everything in a simple way to explain it, that anybody who reads these two books, Secrets of the Kabbalah, will know these things, and the 33rd degree, they'll know it. So, of course, many people will say the Bible and the Kabbalah and all these things, the Talmud, people are going to say they're Jewish books. Yes, that's what people say, don't they? And they'll say it's a Jewish conspiracy. You've heard this, haven't you, many times?
right, right. Yeah.
Have you heard of Chabad?
Chabad, like the Lubavitch.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, they're a very big Jewish organization
Right. Right.
in America.
Yeah.
So the thing is,
I
it's
was just talking
because
with them last
now,
night.
yeah, uh, last night.
Yeah, I just mentioned them last night for some reason. I mean, they
Ah,
came up.
right.
They were talking about the Mormon temples and how the temples are not being allowed to be built in certain places, and they made the joke, well, they could just start building them underground like the Chabad.
If you know the secret of the cube or the cosmic ashlar, yes,
Right.
in the way they construct these buildings and the masonry, and then the cornerstone must be a cube, and the
Right.
Muslims refuse to have a cube at the Kaaba.
Yeah.
By the way, the Kaaba is 50 by 36 by 42 or something. It's not a cube. There is a big reason why
Right.
these people refused.
It's
Yes, but
interesting
let me
also
show you.
because Steve Jobs made the next computer cube in the exact dimensions of the Kaaba.
Yes.
Right.
If anybody understands,
If anybody
well, he's
understood, exactly.
well, he's done it. It's like a perfect cube, by the way. Not like the Kaaba. The Kaaba is a rectangle, actually, irregular rectangle.
Right.
Yes, it's like from far it looks like a square, but it's just like a house that's a rectangle. You've got to look at it close up.
Exactly.
Like when you look at some houses, you think it's a square. So now
Exactly.
Chabad will tell you about the Kabbalah and all these other books. Now, this information, many people, they probably wouldn't have declared it, but because now there's many young Jewish people for the last 50, 60 years who have investigated the history of Jewish manuscripts.
Right.
So that's why they can't stay quiet about it. But you can read it. This is from the Chabad website. And what do you call it? You can start from the second sentence. Keep in mind, what do they tell you about almost all the Jewish books, like the Kabbalah and everything?
I'll just start from the top. To be sure, one can find old Jewish books and manuscripts with illustrated title pages that have been lushot depicted with rounded
That's
tops.
a different topic. Yeah, but the next sentence is the main part, what we're talking about.
Keep in mind, however, that hundreds of years ago, most Jewish books were printed by non-Jews. Not to mention the fact that they were, for the most part, censored for anything that could be construed as being anti-Christian or anti-government. One need
That's
only
the
to
main point.
wow,
That's the main point. Almost all the Jewish books, until we're talking about the late 19th century and 20th century, were printed by non-Jews. Yes, published by basically the Vatican. Oh, by the way, let me just show you, for example, because many people don't realize this, but an important thing is what do you call it? Let me just show you who this character
this
is.
is really interesting. Just because considering that a major reason for the spread of the Kabbalah, like the Sefer Yetzirah and such books, were because of the printing press and Jews printing, but that had to have
Who's,
happened
who's
after this. That had to have happened
let,
after this.
let me just show you now. It's
Because these
like
are all hand done manuscripts before that time.
they
Exactly.
know they know that they're spreading rumors. The
Right.
Jews are the New World Order.
Yeah.
The Jews are behind
You gotta
September
blame
11th.
somebody else, right? Yeah, you blame
Yes. So
easy.
now let me tell you who published the Kabbalah, who published the Talmud, who published all these books. Yes, meet meet the Godfather, my father and your father. Here is Daddy himself. It was these people. They published it, and
Why do
then
you
there
gotta
was
pick
the
Benedict?
original.
He's like the scariest one too.
He's one of my favorites. It's like the red robe, the vamp,
He did have cool
the
shoes.
vampire
I'm not
look.
gonna
But
lie.
in public anyway,
Yeah.
I mean the videos that we
No,
see,
he's
he looks friendly
horrifying.
and
Yeah,
everything.
no, a friendly, scary
Yes.
man. Yes.
Yeah, but the thing is, the photographs. That's why I like this picture. It's a classic.
Yeah.
So the thing is, it was Daddy. Yes, Daddy decided that they're going to publish these books. Yes,
Yeah.
and anybody, I mean the Vatican. So anybody who had other books, like you and me, yes, we would have got burnt on the stake and something, and while the blood was pouring out, yes, there was a lot of cannibalism. We went through this in Skulls and Bones. The peasants were given
Right.
the blood to drink, the meat to eat. And then they kept, your skull would have decorated, probably it would be in the Sistine Chapel right now or underground in Paris, saying
Yeah.
he dared to have an original book. He's supposed to have only the ones that we printed. Yes? So the
So
ones that they printed, they wrote them down. So that's how we have these biblical manuscripts.
what
And so
about
now the
just really quickly with the Arabic stuff, right? So like, how come why are the Catholics doing this instead of the Arabs? Like, I would have thought the Arabs were compiling, like in Spain, compiling like Jewish rabbinical scriptures. Why are the Catholics doing it, or what's the deal with that?
money, don't
Money.
you know? It makes millions of dollars. It made lots of money back then. It still makes money today. It's like you have no idea. Just look for how much some of these books and book collections cost. $1,000, $500, $800. You got to buy several of these books.
Well, this is
One or
true. I
two.
mean, the icon manuscripts were worth lots of money, and the churches
I'm
would
talking
make them
today on
for
Amazon.
right.
Wait, I'm talking today just to get printed
Yeah,
copies of some of these books.
yeah, printed even.
$500, $800. And the thing is, by the time you've read them all, you're confused and you haven't learned anything because then they'll say, you got to read the next one. You got to read the next one. It's just a continuous business. My book explains this. By the way, Secrets of the Kabbalah, it shows how much money they made. It was such a success. So then they printed more books.
Right.
Oh, of course. Yes, so because people are going to think they found out it's a scam and everything, it's got disgusting things and other things written inside. So who do you say, these books belong to the Jews? Give it to these people. And then how do you turn these people into Jews? I've shown in my books and I've discussed on that Raphael's channel, Acts Like You Know, whereby what they did is many orphans in many schools, they brought them as up as Jews and
Right.
told them your ancestors were Jews and this is your religious books, etc. So that's why there's only like 10 million Jewish people today. 100 years ago, there was probably 5, 6 million. 200 years ago, it goes down because there wasn't many Jewish people. Yes. So they knew they could do this because you just brainwash them, bring them up. Like right now, there's a big major crisis in the world, in Europe and America. There's a new movement, like I've just done a video with Raphael. It's a movement in Europe and America. They're all separate individual people, but there's a big movement that started. Have you heard of them?
What's the name of the movement?
Quranists.
Oh, the Quranis. No, no, I'm not familiar.
Ah, it's something that what do you call it? Yes, many politicians in have spoken about. For example, yes, um, many people know that there's a lot of politics, there's a lot of Freemasonry and everything. Like, for example, yes, and there is a lot of lies. Like this is from one of the major British newspapers. You could read the first sentence.
The first sentence: Islamism. Sorry, is the biggest threat we face. Yet our leaders do nothing. Okay, Islamicism. Yeah, I guess I've read this. I've definitely seen this word used in sound bites in
Yeah.
Twitter. Of course, Islamism.
It's not just there, but even Christian groups and churches. Yeah, the thing is, the religion Christianity, I'm talking about the Bible itself, yes, is full of historical problems and contradictions and lies,
Right.
yes, that we
So
can see. But
Quranism
the
is
thing
sort of
is,
like fundamentalist Christians believe in the Bible. Quranism is the belief in the Quran.
evangelist, yes,
Yes. Right. Okay.
yes. So the thing is, but even the evangelists, even though the evangelists themselves are a threat to society, I would say in a way, it's because they put false hope in people that you're going to go have the rapture. It's a business. People are making billions of dollars. Yes, things like this. Donating to priests
I think there's
and
also kind of
so-called.
a there's like a holdover from the Middle Ages idea of feudal feudalism. These peasants, like a lot of the idea of the mysticism of the Bible being this like perfect holy book is that there were illiterate people that couldn't write their own books, were forbidden from writing their own books,
Yeah,
and they see this
and they
book,
can't
they're like,
read it.
wow, a book, it must,
Yeah,
no one else could do
and the
this, it must be
biggest
from God,
opposition.
I could never
Yeah,
write
and the
this.
biggest opposition is that it's one of the cleverest things ever. I don't know who wrote the Quran, but the Muslims say it was God. But it was very clever that the opposition created something that everybody could read and you can memorize it, called the
Yeah,
Quran,
and I don't mean to
because they
take
knew.
away from the mysticism. Like I think the idea of God or Allah, all these things are very important. I just mean like this is also a reason why people don't think they can write down their own revelations and share their own life like
Okay,
legacy, right? Because they
yeah,
think that they're
people,
not good
that
enough.
those people are decent. But
Right.
let's talk about people who are in. The Bible has been reinterpreted by almost every church. You go to a
Oh
church
my
on
gosh.
Sunday,
Yeah.
each pastor or each person will give you a meaning to a story. But even the evangelists, even with the fraud of their translations, they are saying that Islam is a continuing threat and the Quran is the latest threat. Now, let me show you the
Wow.
biggest joke in the universe, because the Quranist is a movement. And the thing is, unfortunately, yes, the thing is, many people are being brainwashed. Because what they've done now is that these people are targeting Europeans and Americans. That means people like you and me.
Right.
That they're thinking that Europeans and Americans don't want to convert to Islam.
Well,
So now
they've
what we
definitely
will do?
posed Islam as this other thing than it is, right? Like they make it about violence and things like CIA
Oh,
funded
that's what the media
terrorism,
does.
right?
That's what the media does. But
Yeah.
let me tell you what the Quranists are doing.
Right.
This is something else that the world
Yeah.
has to wake up to.
Because the
It's not
Quranists
a
seem
joke.
interesting. Yeah.
Do you know what they're doing?
Not yet.
What they've done is that they've changed the meanings of the text of the Quran itself. Same like the
Oh.
evangelist
Oh.
movement. It's good. It's good in brainwashing, because now what they've done is that, imagine the word good. The word good morning could mean it's a good morning, or it could mean, I'm just saying good morning, but it's raining, or it's freezing outside. So what they've done is they've opened up dictionaries and they've chosen another meaning that's suitable to them to describe what is the meaning of the Quran, because in that way they can attract people in Germany, Canada, Australia, United States, England,
Right.
Sweden, Norway, to attract people to join Islam. And they'll say, you don't need to drink, you don't need to wear the headscarf. We're not like them, we're modern. They've got it wrong. So they're just there's many of these translations being sold now, and it's a business too.
See, that's
But
interesting
what
because
they
that's a
don't
lot like the Gestalt inversion of
wait,
these logos. Yeah.
but now check this out. These Arabic dictionaries, who invented Arabic? This is from one of the top 5 or top 10 Arabic television channels like CNN or BBC. It's one of them in the Middle East. And
Right.
even the people over there know, yes, that
Right.
the dictionaries and the modern Arabic, by the way, nobody speaks Arabic in the Middle East. Last time I told you, in North Africa, they don't speak Arabic. You asked me, what do they speak? I didn't answer. 2 years ago, you asked me, but by the way, nobody speaks Arabic. That means, one, they didn't write the Quran. Two, they don't know
I'm
the
still
Quran.
asking, are they
Three,
speaking
they don't.
French or not? Like, let me know. No, it's
No,
okay.
they speak Arabic dialects.
Yeah.
Like, for example,
Right.
it's like
Dialects.
Ice Cube has got his English dialect. Then you could say the Queen of England has got her dialect, how she speaks,
Right.
compared to how normal people speak. Or let's say when you're using AI to read out English, they speak in a different way. But you could read this. Who invented this standard Arabic and
Modern
all these
standardized
dictionaries?
Arabic. Right. Yeah.
Who invented it?
Well, the Freemasons, of course. I mean,
You could read it out.
whom
Read it
else?
loud. This is
How
good.
the Freemasons and the AUB invented modern standard Arabic,
That's
right?
the American University, Beirut. So
Oh,
what they did is,
okay.
yeah, about
I didn't
150
catch
years
that at
ago.
first.
Yeah. Now let me explain to you what happened. They're going to say the Quran is in classical Arabic. So classical Arabic, what they did is they invented stories based on the 33rd degree.
Right.
Yes, this is shocking. Based on the 33rd degree, you say, how could they have done that with symbols? Using symbology and inventing the current Arabic alphabet. What they did was they invented the story that the Prophet Muhammad married this kid, a 6-year-old kid. Yeah, a 6-year-old girl. And that's based on the 33rd degree. It's difficult to explain unless if you read the book. Anyone who reads the book will think, oh my God, is this how they invented it? In the same way they invented the story of the crucifixion and the cross based on the 33rd degree symbolism. You'll say, how is that possible? It's actually so easy, but it'll take too long to describe here. If people want, they could read Albert Mackey's books. Um, Let me just see. I think some of his books are 500 or $1,000, but it's worth reading. Let me just show you. It's like I read it myself. So some of his are expensive, but they're actually um, worth reading. Yes, if people really want to understand symbols and the occult and other thing, and it's really shocking what you can learn from the symbols. But there is a book that's being sold for just $1,000 and $1,000 or something. And let let me see. The You can find parts of it in the Encyclopedia of Freemasonry. Yes, it's very expensive, but if you want to understand how the world has been brainwashed, then what do you call it? I recommend some of these books and some of the original versions, not the new versions. And the original versions, I'm sure I'm trying to find it online, but I can't seem to find it because they've updated. They have updated editions, but anyone who goes through it will be able to understand how they invented the story of the crucifixion and how they did it using Hebrew symbology, yes, and Greek and Cyrillic symbology. And this is difficult to understand, but then if the Vatican and their boys printed all these Hebrew books, who invented the Hebrew alphabet? Did anybody think of this? That's what they tell you. That's what they tell you. But the truth is, it's like there you can see to yourself that that's who invented Standard Arabic, and they're going to say Standard Arabic, how the Quran is translated, is based on classical Arabic. They're just going to give you some Bullstein story, yes, and things like this. But anyway, the Quran is. Believe it or not, it's something else that's even more that once you know it, the 33rd degree, after that, it's difficult to fool you again. I recommend you to read this book. If you read this book, after that, it's going to be difficult to fool you again, because they've used the 33rd in Buddhism. In modern Islam, they're using it too, but many the Quranists don't realize. I found this book. Albert Pack. Here it is. I got it wrong, not in the encyclopedia, in Masonic formulas and rituals. Yes, the price is pretty high, but this book, yes, from this book, you will be able to learn so much, which is, it costs about $1,500. Yeah, American dollars. But it's pretty good. Yes, and about the encyclopedia, the revised version, yes, has got a bit more extra information, but not the revised edited version, just the revised version. And that version is about $500. So have you received it, these two books?
Right. I'm seeing it.
Albert Pike's
Albert
and
Pike
Albert
Masonic
Mackey's.
Formulas and Rituals and Mackey's Revised Encyclopedia of Freemasonry, volumes 1 and 2 from 1929
Yeah.
edition.
Now, a reason why Masons are in, you can get very high jobs, or or directorships, or you could move up in your career. It's because you understand the principle of the pen, the writing. You're writing with your penis, and it's you go up 33 degrees. That's how you will see things through your penis, and that is where you will see God, and that is the sex God, and that's why you will get jobs, very big good jobs in director of marketing or somewhere, because you could brainwash someone. That's why I know these books are expensive. It'll probably cost you, these and a few others, several $1,000s. But once you've read them, you will understand what is really going on at the top, how people think. It's like when I had these jobs, the thing is, of course, it's like if I'm selling a product, then my duty is, yes, for me anyway, because I want to take your cash, I want to brainwash you. So I will think, what is your weakness? Sexuality. And it's the happy way. Because when people see in teenage ages, years, a boy's chatting up a girl or a girl is chatting up a boy, he's blushing, they're laughing, this, that, because it's the appearance that comes first. Now, of course, nobody will like the Muslims, because the thing is, let me just show you, yeah, um, what you can do is, if you went to Turkey and then you just saw the women there, you're going to turn around and think, I don't think I'm going to be able to have the same effect of the 33rd degree, because you'll see that a large percentage of the population is dressed like this, so
Right.
it reduces the sexual awareness and sexual thinking. Yes, it's like everybody knows, even at the workplace, the person appearance, not just sexuality, of how they're dressed, the smell, that many people will think, hey, does this have a sexually arousing smell, things like this, or other things. So unfortunately, it's not me. This is how the world thinks, and this is how many business people, how they think in very big companies. When I was there, of course, I followed the same principles. It makes money. If you don't like it, so what? What do you want me to do? Of course, I want cash. I want these high positions. I love my lifestyle. I like my six-figure job salaries and things like this. Perks, bonuses, shareholdings, etc. People in my family, so we do the same thing. So the thing is, it works. The 33rd degree works. Yes, so that's that. Now the thing is, what my books does, you could read them, and if you find it difficult, my books does that. In a different ways. 33rd degree, especially in Secrets of the Kabbalah, goes more through the Kabbalah. So that's a different topic. But the 33rd degree, it shows the symbols, it explains them, shows them how they used it, and everything. It just get many diagrams of showing what they did with the letters in different languages and everything. And then once you figure it out and you know the 33rd degree, then that's when you've woken up. Because many people say, open your third eye, or the eye of Horus, or the pineal gland, and you'll wake up. That's not the real truth. The real truth is, open up to the scam. Or how are you going to awaken? Because since childhood, you're being brainwashed with A, B, C, D, F, G, W, X, Y, Z, and you have no idea why people think it's just random that these shapes have got these things. And the thing is, it's all just marketing from the beginning.
Right.
Yes.
It's like
What do you
your
think?
box idea, the box saga, right? That there's sexuality in all the alphabet. The alphabet's controlling your
Yeah,
libido, the
yeah.
sounds.
Even in sport, the cheerleaders.
Well, it's also
Yes.
interesting because the idea that like the Quran is one of those things where you don't have to know what it says to memorize it. Like a lot of there's like an entire path of being Muslim, which is just to memorize the Quran without understanding it, just to
Ah, yes. A
memorize the
large
sounds.
percentage don't even know what it means.
Right,
But
but
the
if you do
advanced,
the work, you memorize the
yeah.
sounds. It doesn't matter
But
if you
the
know what it
difference
means.
is, like, let's say, for example, yes, when I go to my church, yes, they tell you to memorize the Lord's Prayer. So I memorized it when I was young.
All
Yes,
right.
because I wanted to learn, so I go. So
Because you're a
in my local church, it's very good. Yes. In the same way, when I go to my local mosque, I memorize one of their local prayers. Like, I really like this prayer. It's like it doesn't matter if people say God is not the Father. Many people will say it to me. Yes, from other religions, but I like the Lord's Prayer. For me personally,
Yeah,
it's like I
it's
was brainwashed into it, so I can't get rid of it. Our Father
similar.
who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name, thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, etc. But when I learnt it,
And forgive
it
us our
was
trespasses, as we
hallowed
forgive
be
those
thy
who
name
trespass
instead of
against us.
yes. I don't know what they say these days if they use the word hallowed
They
or
better. Hallowed be
no,
that
maybe they've got
his name is
maybe they've
hallowed.
got modern English. But the prayer actually, when you go to the mosque, they stand up and they say the same prayer, but instead of Our Father, it's O Master of the Day of Judgment.
Mm-hmm.
So they give God a different title. The similar things, instead of give us this day our daily bread, it's guide us to the correct way, to this to be good people. Somebody will say that's Masonic. Yes, to be a good person. Yeah. So, but Freemasonry and Islam are in competition, and many people think that Freemasonry is a powerful organization.
Well,
The
it is
Freemasonry,
another name for Freemasonry is the Moorish sciences, so I think that's pretty close now to Islam.
yeah. When you say more sciences, it's not really sciences.
Well,
It's what do you call it? Yeah.
arts,
Read my book 33 Degrees
liberal
and watch
arts.
the videos with Raphael, and then after this, you will think, is this what you call sciences? Huh?
Well, I
Who
grew up in
wrote these books?
California, so I see how they call liberal arts sciences. But I hear your point.
Yeah.
It is what
But
it
the
is.
thing is,
It's
but the thing
basically
is,
Californian
it's
college what you're talking about.
yeah. No, we live in Masonic societies. We think
Right.
Masonically. But anyway, the thing is now, even the Christians are saying Islam is a threat because there's these Quranists and they're giving new meanings based on these Masonic dictionaries because they're trying to attract people in Europe and America to convert to Islam. So that's a threat, by the way. The thing is, and when somebody goes to the mosque, you'll find that the manuscript says something else. Yes, and they've translated it based on forged manuscripts. That it actually even says different words. I've checked through this myself, and I mentioned this in both books, 33 Degrees and Kabbalah. It's because they've done the same thing with the Bible. Unfortunately, yes, when one picks up the Bible, it's like I've just got a new video out. In fact, I'll go to it now. It's actually shocking. In English, we call it the letter A. Yes, but in Hebrew, they call it the letter Aleph. Yes, you
Right.
know this letter.
Yeah.
Yes? Yeah. So this is the shape of the letter. Yes. So now, no matter what, yes, the thing is, let me just have a look. If you open up scripts. Let me just find Bible Hub is a good one. And then the thing is, when we look at what do you call it? When we look at biblical manuscripts and we open things up, it's I'm going to show you now that what they do is they translate the name um, um, for God, and they will tell you that the word actually says Allah. Yes, in the Bible. Yes.
Hmm.
But I want you to pay attention. You've seen what the letter A looks like in Hebrew.
Right.
Yes, please pay attention. You do. It looks like a Z sideways. So
Right.
that's why the English in the Z, God is the Alpha and the Omega, the first and the last. So in English, it will be God is the letter A and the letter what?
Zed.
Z. So that's why all they did was when they created the Z, it was basically just rotating this letter A. Same like if you were in Russia, it's like here in English we will say I know. It's spelt with a K. Yes.
Hmm.
So if you rotate the K, it looks like a Z. So now in Russia you will say I know, я знаю. You know
Hmm.
this?
Right.
So they played around.
Because then you
These
kind of have
languages
the
were
N
invented.
too. Yes, night. You can see the N in the Z.
Yes, yes, but of course they will say, our languages evolved for centuries. So now
Well,
here
but
is from
like
the Bible.
even like I mean, come on, come on. Like even Russians will admit that their priests were taking the Greco Cyrillic alphabet. Like, so of course they were all,
That's the fake history that we're told.
that's
You
what
know,
that's even the
after
Russians will admit that to themselves, right? Like they know that, right? Tell me the Russians know that.
not really. There's many videos going around now. Are going ancient. We've got great gematria,
Oh,
and
you're killing me,
Stalin and
David.
Lenin invented modern Russian.
You're
That
killing me,
a
David.
hundred years ago people didn't speak that. But anyway,
You know what,
here
actually,
is the.
David? You know what shocks me? Because you always tell me, like, this is going to shock you. And you're right. But what shocks me most is that we're the only people that know this sometimes. That's shocking.
But it's spreading.
Yeah.
It's not us. We have to remember. It's like in other parts of the world, like in what we don't like to realize is that one quarter of the world refuses the rest of the world.
Right.
Everyone knows you go to China, they'll say these Muslims they don't want to get on with anyone. They refuse our history. They refuse everything. It's similar in Europe, and then in India, it's similar and
That's what
everything. But
people
anyway,
say
have a
about
look
each
at
other,
this.
yeah.
This is the Bible itself.
Right.
Now, the word Yahweh in Semitic dialects, because I've taught hundreds of villages in the Middle East, the word Yahweh basically doesn't mean Jehovah; it just means He is.
Right.
It's like if somebody said, "Who did this?" You could say, "He did," or "He is."
But
He
you
did
picked
it.
you picked a
But
good one because you went to the Deuteronomists, and so the way that they've already contracted Elohim, like the plural, into Elohi,
it says the word Elohe here,
yeah,
but
yeah.
you know what the letter A is now. What does that really say?
Well, tell me what you want to say. What do you mean, like the Z?
You can read it. Read it with the letter A. There is no letter E there. They're lying.
Oh, so to say instead of the e to say so Allah, right?
That's what it says, yes.
Right,
And
of course.
instead, they put dots and
Well,
dashes
and
and
this is
symbols.
important because you look at it and like, why are we reading e's in a language without vowels? We've got these dots to tell us
Yeah,
where the vowels are supposed
yeah,
to be, but
not
come
just
on,
without vowels, but then they're lying, saying Hebrew
they're
has no
giving us
vowels.
these other vowels to make sure we're not picking.
Wait, but how
Yeah.
do we know there's no vowels when they're lying? Because Aleph is a vowel and it's in Hebrew, so
Hmm.
they lied.
Okay, that's
That's one
also
of
a
the
fair point.
first.
That's a fair point. It's like
Yes.
inferred that it's
So
ah. It's inferred that it's olive. Yeah.
but then have a look at the pronunciation. When they put the word Elohe there, what the hell? Anybody could read English. Why has it got a straight line above the O, some asterisks above the E, some symbols above the other E?
Right.
Because they want to confuse you. And they
Right.
know it doesn't mean anything. They just want you to think, oh, some strange pronunciation. The
So
people were strange thousands of years ago. It just says Allah. And they put the O like that because everybody knows that it says Ella. Yes, that's what the churches are telling you, but it's not an
so
E.
brutal.
So, so when you remove the E, it's Alpha and Omega. There is no such thing as the elephant and the Omega. It's Alpha. So it actually says Allah,
Right.
Allah.
Right.
So I've checked this to myself, and it's in the Bible. So some people are going to say I'm making it up. So that's what the evangelists and the Biblists in the Vatican did. Now, this is what the Quranists are doing now with the Quran. They've got these Jesuits and Masonic dictionaries. They are giving Masonic meanings to target people to convert them.
Something to do.
Of course, you know what I mean. I mean, many people are going to stay silent about it, but
Oh, absolutely.
the thing is, nobody speaks Arabic in the Middle East. Yes, but how do they know the meanings of the Quran? When we look at Quran translations online, about 90% of the words are okay, but if you change 10%, it causes a problem.
Oh
At
yeah.
first,
No,
I
this
didn't
is.
mind.
I'm just trying. This is blowing. This is all right. Ugh, there's so many things, and it's crazy how much you've been doing at the same time we've been doing things. But looking into the word Elohim and getting Elohi, and looking at it without those vowels and saying Allah,
It
right?
says Allahum, it doesn't
Yeah.
say Elohim.
Well, this is what I'm.
Yeah.
This hear me out here, right? Because like Allah for Elohi, then that therefore infers that when it says Elohim instead of earlier before the Deuteronomist, it's actually maybe saying Alama, right? Because it would be the Alama instead of the Elohim, and that would then
Yes.
that's Arabic for learned, right? So that changes everything in a lot of ways,
Yeah. Yeah. So now this is what the Quranists are doing.
right?
And what they're targeting is people in our neighborhood. In our neighborhood with invented meanings. So now the thing is, everybody knows that the Quran is not an English book. The manuscripts, the European colonial empires put them there, fake manuscripts, so that one day these things could, they're going to make money out of it, and that's what online translations are. 90% of the meaning they've kept it similar because they know Muslims are going to check, but Muslims haven't even realized this. That's why I thought I'd mention it. The thing is, because they are targeting our neighbors, they're going to be targeting your children, these Quranists. Yes, this new form of Islamism that's spreading in Europe and America, they are going to be teaching us fake meanings because they're going to try to create something like, instead of Jehovah's Witnesses, you know, Quran's witnesses. Instead of the Church of Latter-day Saints, like the Quran's Latter-day Saints.
Right. Well, this has
You see?
happened before, right? Bosnia is a great example. I mean, when in between the Orthodox and the Catholics, the only Protestant choice was to be Muslim, right? So this could be a resurgence of that.
In Bosnia, it's a totally different story. Yes, the official history there is actually, it's actually a lie. Even in Croatia,
Of
when we
course.
think about when all sides played games and they brought religion there,
Yeah.
the thing is, it's because what Professor Fomenko shows. Unfortunately, nobody wants to see it. But when this Prophet Muhammad, when he when the Europeans joined his army in the Crusades, the Crusaders were actually his army, the final crusade.
Hmm.
It was actually his army. Yes, and the thing is, a large percentage of them, of his soldiers, were from the Balkans
Yeah.
and Eastern Europe. That
That's what
is
I
why
assumed.
his capital was in Moscow, and that's why they had to wipe out Moscow with the fake Napoleon Bonaparte invasion. That's because of this Prophet Muhammad. It's because if somebody reads the Quran, it's like the Quran actually says you should end slavery. So that principle came from the Quran. The medieval slavery all came to an end because of this Prophet Muhammad. The Quran says, you should elect your leaders. So this modern form of democracy came in Europe. It's not even in the Middle East. That's how we know the Quran came from Europe. So many of these principles are still here, but why they falsified history was to remove this guy, and now they're saying that he belongs to them. So now in the Balkans, what exactly happened there? Now the Vatican, they reinvaded and they took Croatia, but the Vatican controlled the Orthodox Church. Actually, many people don't know. It's one of their divisions. They invented the whole concept. So then they let these small priests and local people fight. And then they will come along with the big boys, and then they'll make peace between them. Like, for example, many people don't understand how the world works. Everyone thinks America is a world power. Like, for example, tomorrow morning, if there is a war between, let's say, Croatia and let's say Slovenia and Italy, and they're all fighting over Trieste. So if they're all fighting, yes, what I'm going to do is, because I've got lots of cash, money makes the world go round. This is the reality. So what I will do is that I'm going to pay the United States or somebody. I'm going to tell them come in as the peacemaker. That's why they came in. NATO came in as the peacemaker because a lot of money was involved. You see? So the United States is like a mercenary army for the people in power and the different factions that fight there. Not just the US, but the Russians also. That's why we hear about is it called Blackwater? And the Russians have their own. There's many companies there, that we hear operating in Ukraine. I'm sure you've heard of these military companies.
Yeah. Yeah.
You can't think of them. This military company in Ukraine
No,
that
right.
they had to go to Belarusia. So unfortunately, they play with people's feelings. Yes,
Of
and the
course.
thing is, Bosnia is a totally different case. I spent time in the Balkans. The last time I spent time, I spent 2 months in the Balkans. Actually, I spent there just going around Yugoslavia, Bulgaria, Macedonia, Bosnia, Croatia, Slovenia.
Yeah.
It's because that place has always fascinated me.
Yeah.
And the thing is, what I've noticed is, unfortunately, if you went to, let's say, Niš or Novi Sad, or if you went to Belgrade, you can't find any history. Everybody is in an urban area in the cities. Now, the thing is, even in Zagreb, I couldn't find much history. The oral history goes back just to the grandparents
Right.
and the things like this. But when I went to Dubrovnik,
Yeah.
because Dubrovnik is more in a mountainous region, I found a lot more history there.
Yeah.
And from there, on the other side that you see, there is Novi Bazar and Sanjak, yes,
Mhm.
and then you have the Montenegrins, yes, and
Of
then
course, they're also erasing and change. Like now, if you go to Dalmatia, you'll find like what they've, how they've refurbished and recreated Diocletian's palace, right? And so,
that's a joke.
that's
Everyone
the
knows that
problem.
that was probably some power center because underground from there you can actually see that it looks like a water reservoir with arches. But
Exactly.
that's more explained in my book, Jerusalem is in Europe.
Right.
It will divert, so we won't.
But
So let me
sorry
give
for
you
the
an example.
distraction.
It's okay. It's like the thing is, it's like when I was Dubrovnik, um, in Dubrovnik. So over there, I met this very old lady. I'm sure she must have been over 90 years old. And the thing is, she couldn't even speak English, and she came out to give me directions and some other thing. And at that time, I had somebody from Mostar, a guide who was taking me across the border over there to Dubrovnik. And the thing was, because I'd heard of the war, don't blame me, I was paranoid that it's like a war zone that both sides are ready to kill each other. So I was terrified. Yeah, but actually there was nothing there. The coach, it was like an interesting drive, and you could see that people are like showing off with their Bosnian flags or with their
Oh yeah.
Croat flags.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they're all so unfortunately
But in
there could
Bosnia,
be.
the reference I was making was that across Bosnia there are little mosques on the prairie, these tiny chapel like mosques everywhere, and there's
Don't you know why?
well,
I will explain to you. So the thing is, when you look at the Orthodox Church, they have a lot of monasteries on top of hills.
yeah,
Did you notice?
yeah,
Now the now but that if you compared it to mosques worldwide, and if a mosque is a monastery, you will actually find thousands of mosques on top of hills
yeah,
compared to monasteries. So now the reality is that's when you think that they are the ones who are threatened the most.
yeah,
So the thing is, the thing is, of course, I did in Niche. Which is the city in the south? It's Niche, yes.
I
Novi
think
Sad
so.
is in the north. Niche. So I met some Orthodox priests there. Yes, if you let me just send you a picture, then you will know that I really spoke to these people because it's always fascinated me. No, the war fascinated me, and the thing is, it actually not just fascinated me; it hurts
Yeah.
that I think
It's really
that
interesting to me because Americans have a really distasteful understanding of Islam, and so they don't approach Muhammad as a prophet or as a person that had that kind of influence. And to think of it, especially like as someone from a Spanish background,
well,
I mean,
well,
it's really interesting to
it's
how
still
someone
lost
you
because
could change
Muhammad is
someone's
their
mind.
ancestor. Muhammad is their ancestor. He's not from the Middle East. We
Right.
can't find the evidence there. They couldn't even read and write. The Quran was already here, and the Crusades were here in the Middle Ages. Yes, and the Crusades were in Europe.
So
So
people
they've
really
lied.
need to analyze this idea of this character Muhammad more. I think it's something that the
It's like,
West could
let me
really
tell
look
you
at.
something. Do you know if you read through some of the Vatican documents and letters from the Renaissance Crusade times, it talks very evil. Like, we hate these bastages. Take their children, turn them into bastages.
Hmm.
In other words, and to destroy them. This, that, take their property. Now, the worst thing you could do to somebody is make them hate their ancestors and their fathers.
Right.
So what they've done in Europe is that they've made the people hate their own history, or the history of the Quran is actually European. It's not from the Middle East. Professor Fomenko has even shown this. But anyway, let me go back and show you about this thing about the Balkans. It's because I'm not lying to you. The Balkans, I'm totally obsessed with that place. Even
Right.
to this day, I'm obsessed with that place. It's like Doris Dragovic. I know her because I like her music. Doris Dragovic, she's Croatian. But then I know Sekara Znatovic. She's what do you call it from Republika Srpska. But many people won't like me if I said I like her music because they turn around and say her husband was a Croat and a Bosnian killer. His teams. So people won't like me if I said I like her music. But it's just the music. So the thing is, let me just show you. So um, it's like when I was in it's like I went to the mall. It's like here I spoke with these beautiful ladies, these Catholic nuns. I spoke to them, asked them about the conflict, everything. So it's like I spoke to them for a good hour. Oh, this, that, whatever. What have they heard? How long have they served there? What are their fears and their worries? This is in
Oh, with
Mostar. Yes,
the checkered
and
flag bag. Very good. Very good.
yeah. So now somebody will think I support the Catholics. I'm not on anybody's side, but they were more what do you call it, Croat. So now here I am in Belgrade outside St. Sava Church. Now, no matter what, yes, I'm not any religious side. I'm crazy about St. Sava's Cathedral in um in um in Belgrade, Beograd. I'm crazy about that building. I just love that building. I don't know why. So it's like but somebody would say I'm a Serbian nationalist because I like that building. So, like here, I forgot where this is. In Niche or somewhere. In Niche, yes. So here I am. I was talking to Orthodox priests. Everything, yeah. And the thing is, that pretty often they let it spill from their mouth. You know, the hatred against Albanians, against Croats, and things like this. So it's
Yeah.
like I spoke to all sides. It's like the thing is, let me just show you. So here I am in Mitrovica. Yes, so I'm talking to these people and they're telling me everything, saying, "Hey, this is the reality." It's like I didn't like it. For example, when I was in somewhere in Kosovo, and one Kosovan person said to me, "Ah, the Serbs they just left here voluntarily." And they started laughing. I didn't like that when they were telling me the story. It's because civilians.
Right.
I don't like civilians. In these war zones, what they did. So I
No.
spoke to all types of people.
Yeah.
Yeah, in case you think it's just one or two, I spoke to all types because I thought I have to understand and I have to know what exactly is going on. Yes, so with the mosques, with secular people, all types. So it was a difficult thing, to actually try to understand. Let me just show you in Slovenia because so when I was there, it's like even Jewish visitors who came back to the Balkans, who've emigrated to Israel, telling them how they feel that they've come back. Here is in Slovenia.
I wish people
You
really
know what I
thought
mean?
about how like mosques look. Like I don't think Americans understand. Like if you look at that mosque right there, like there's just all these mosques everywhere, and they just look like rocket ships. With the prayer towers that they have. I mean, it's
Ah, well, if let me just show you. It's
the
like many people
minarets.
don't know.
Right.
Let me just show you now. If you went to Estonia, Lithuania, and Latvia, yes, or Belarus, or to Ukraine, or to Finland. Let me see. Um,
And you can tell
Estonia.
Slovenia is so funny because they just think they're still an Austro-Hungarian state. Like they can't help themselves.
Ah, the thing is, what many people don't know is, let me just shock you with this, and you will think, oh my God, I never realized this. So now the thing is, Professor Fomenko showed in his books that Islam was in Europe a long time ago, and many of the towers today are industrial buildings. Here is Estonia, or is this, yes, Tallinn. What do you
Mm-hmm.
see? You see a minaret there. What is
Right.
it doing there? Why is it there? You see, so there's many of these things people don't understand the actual history. And the other building that looks like a church is actually an industrial building that they've modified. Yeah,
Wow.
believe it or not, and they're telling us it's just an old church. Many industrial
Wow.
buildings are actually old power stations. That's why they have underground reservoirs, and they're lying saying it's a baptism font just to put a few sprinkles of water on your head. No, that was the actual power supply of Europe, and in and the industry. Many of these cathedrals that we have, Professor Fomenko points out that the church occupied them and lied and said they're genuinely Christian churches, genuinely Catholic, genuinely Gothic. The thing is, there were power stations with thick, solid walls. And that's why in Europe we have radiators. In many countries, they don't use radiators because this system came from the old world, whereby you heat the water and the water went into the villages and it warmed the homes. By the way, this history of these buildings where they're boiling the water these buildings, and it talks about King Solomon built them. And the thing is that they've got these underground water storage reservoirs, what we call the crypts in the churches. They're telling us they pray in these crypts. They look the same like any water reservoir. By the way, this is more explained in my book. Let me just share it so that people can have a look. Or some people will think, I didn't know this. Unfortunately, the world was advanced before. We had technology before. And these stories, I was shocked myself. That's when I thought the book did not, the Quran couldn't have come from the Middle East. It tells you in the Quran that these buildings are there. They're like industrial buildings, and it describes how they're built. It even uses Germanic words in the Quran. So I don't know how Germanic words, Anglo-Saxon words, are inside the Quran. And so the Quran says that these buildings boiled water, and they had water reservoirs underneath. But of course, they're going to say that they're Christian churches today. Professor Fomenko even said that the church overtook these buildings. This is in my book, Jerusalem is in Europe,
Right.
because there's not just one Jerusalem, there's several, like Paris was known as Jerusalem.
Jerusalem. Right. In
Yes,
Turkey,
yes,
probably.
so was Edinburgh. Edinburgh was known as Jerusalem, so was Moscow.
Yeah.
It was known as Jerusalem. Moscow was
Hey,
one of the
Jews are nomadic.
headquarters of the Prophet Muhammad.
Home is
Yes,
where the
what was
heart
that?
is, right? Jerusalem's where the
Yeah,
heart is, right?
yeah. Yes, it just means Jar Islam, the city of Islam.
Yeah.
It's not Jerusalem, it's Salam. Jar
Salam.
Islam, it's two words, and
Yeah.
that's where the word Islam comes from. And Jar Islam means city of peace.
Right,
These are
and this is
European
interesting
words,
because people are calling Islam submission or slavery, but
they're
like
liars.
it means
That's what
literally
these
it
Quranists
means
are doing.
peace. Salam.
Yeah, do
Yeah.
you know why these Quranists are doing it? They're inventing these new meanings,
Yeah.
but these meanings are already in the European languages. Don't be fooled into converting into a religion or something without checking it and thinking, hey, this is what something means. Beware of this new movement, like the evangelists, it's called Quranists, where they're inventing new meanings for the things. It's like Islam's already here. If you don't like it, don't take it. The Quran's in the mosques, and the Quran is an oral book. Same like I'm alive. If somebody wants to know David, call me, talk to me, man. I'm not a dictionary. You can ask me. I'm not a book. Talk to me, I'll explain. So the Quran is a talking book, it's an oral book. Same like it says, do you know what it says in the book of Revelation? This is shocking. This is how we know the fraud of, what do you call it? The fraud of Christianity. Do you know what it says about the book of Revelation? It says the angel of God. Now this is very shocking. Yes, it says the angel of God came to John the evangelist who wrote the book of John. So this is how I know the Bible's a fraud. But when you look at this, it's shocking. So now he comes to a guy called John the evangelist, and he says, "I brought you a little book. Eat this book, basically swallow it." And then this book talks about the world. You've got to take this book to the world, prophesy it to the world. It's telling you about the future. This is the book of God. That's what we're told about the book of God. Yes? So now the thing is, what do you call it? Where is this book of God that you can eat and swallow? I can't find it. The only one that I could find is that they've copied this story in Revelation from the Quran. Because according to the history that we have in Europe, not in the Middle East, is that there was a man called Muhammad. He got a book from this angel Gabriel. This is what Renaissance writers wrote down. And he swallowed this book. And then he took it to the world and prophesied to the world. I cannot find this book anywhere else in the world. Now, that's the New Testament, that's in Greek. So if people want to be fussy, yeah, of course. So now we've got Old Testament, and they're going to say Ezekiel, Daniel's prophecies, end of days. So now you can read this yourself. What do we know? What did God give to Ezekiel? You could read it. It's in the photograph at the top. He gave to Ezekiel. What did he give him?
Eat this book and go speak to the children of Israel.
Yeah, he gave him a book that you could eat and then prophesy. And Ezekiel has got prophecies about the Gog and the Magog. And do you know what? If you compared the stories of Ezekiel and Revelation, they're basically similar. Somebody's copied them and modified them. But then if you could compare them to the Prophet Muhammad, you'll think, hey, it's the same again. And they've modified it. And these stories are in Europe. They're not in the Middle East.
So is
So
eat this book
then,
a straight up like because I hate to be so presentist, but it does sound like mushrooms, doesn't it? Like what do they mean when they say eat this book? What are they saying?
And they've translated the word as eat, but it basically means take it into your body. And then it says it tastes sweet in your mouth. You know, the words.
Okay,
That's what the
the
Muslims
sweet
are going to
one.
say. Oh, by the way, did you know that during the Renaissance, the Quran itself was known as the Revelation in Europe? That's what they called it. But the Jesuits said this is the false revelation. It was given the same name as the revelation, by the way. And then the Quran actually gives you prophecies of the beast and other things. So then it's like competition. So then if you've got competition, you're going to invent revelation by John the Apocalypse. And they've told us it's 2,000 years old. But guess what? Yes, there's a what do you call it? A star sign symbol of events in the book of Revelation, which is from the 15th, 16th century.
Hmm.
That means it's not even old.
Right, totally. It's like exactly.
Yes,
It comes from the printing era. It's not from the before printing
yes.
era. It's
So,
a
so the
mass
thing is,
duplicated period only.
so of course, if you don't, so if there is a book that people are swallowing, it's spreading like fire and everything, and there's the Crusades and everything, and Islam's the enemy, you're going to invent a book to challenge it, Revelation. But of course, you're not smart enough, so you can't find a book that people can memorize. But you give them just as good. You say, here it is, this book of God, a printed one. So they did that. That's exactly what they did. Believe it or not, that's exactly what happened. And even if people are going to say, I find this difficult to understand, okay, then when you look at the 33rd degree, what I've done is in my new book, I've done, ah, this is going to be shocking. Now, in the book of Ezekiel, what they've done is they've played round. So, how do we know it was about Europe? Now, Professor Anatoly Fomenko says that the Prophet Muhammad had one capital in Moscow and the other one was in Constantinople.
Hmm.
It seemed like today you could say, Brussels and Washington.
I mean,
They're the
if
two
it takes
major
a while to
capitals.
travel, you'd want to have a capital that you could stay at in several places, right? Yeah, that makes sense.
Oh no, it's like you need different administrative centers.
Yeah,
Washington D.C. to control all the peasants in America and Canada, and Brussels to control all the
different
peasants in Europe.
organs to the political body.
Yes,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yes, different locations. So now, if we opened up the Bible, they've hidden it in translations, but you can read this yourself. It tells you about the Gog and the Magog. Now, according to the Bible, they tell you that these are the Gog and the Magog. Now, if you read it actually in the Hebrew, do you know what you could see? You can see that the leader of the Gog and the Magog is the Prince of Russia, of Moscow, and Tobal. Do you know what's so funny? Yes,
That's
Moscow
wild.
was the capital of Russia, and Tobal is the capital of Siberia. And they're telling us this book is centuries old. This sounds like the Renaissance times of the so-called Mongol invasion. They've invented the
Yeah, totally.
Mongol, yeah, Mongol or Magog, Gog, Magog. And then the Prophet Muhammad had his capital there, Moscow. Yes, and that's where the word mosque came from. And then Russia. So the thing is, what is this doing in the Bible, in the book of Ezekiel? They've translated it and told us some other rubbish, and then they're going to say this Russia in the Bible is in Israel.
Thanks,
Then they're going
King
to say this
James. Right.
Mecca or Moscow is in Saudi Arabia, or this Tabal, it's in Sinai in Egypt in the Middle East. When the reality, you can see it's actually in Russia. They're describing events in Europe. The Bible is just the history of our European people, of our ancestors in Europe and Western Asia. They're lying. It's not from the Middle East. And so my books, The 33rd Degree, actually goes through some of these scandals and some of these lies, and it goes through it. And I draw diagrams after the introduction. I show what they've done of how they've Masonic invented the history based on the Kabbalah. Now, if you read the book Kabbalah, you will understand the mathematics, the background. If you read this, you'll understand the 33rd degree and to do with fire worship or what they call the Shin. Yes, this is a long story. Do you know the secrets of the Shin in Freemasonry or in Masonry or in Jesuits or in any secret societies? Do you know
Uh,
about the Shin?
I know about the shin in Kabbalah. I mean, I don't know exactly what.
Ah, okay. Then this book will explain the shin to you like a piece of cake.
I mean, is it
That's what
blackjack?
this book 33 degrees is. What do you know about the shin?
It's 21st letter. You know, it's it's like S or C or W depending on how you want to look at it. It can be
No,
associated with
it's the
sigma.
letter sh. Sh. Shin.
Sure,
Sh.
yeah. But if you looked
Sh.
at the,
Like shut up.
have you seen the paleo, have you seen the paleo symbol for it? Because it's associated with the Cyrillic Vev, also.
Ah, yes, the paleo symbol. A
Yeah.
very good start from the Phoenicians. Well
Right.
done that you've noticed. What does the shin look like there?
Uh,
Hmm.
in here, or are you talking
Yeah.
about my paleo, like the Vev?
And
Yeah.
what is the shin made of? Ah, that's giving the secret of the 33 degrees away and how they brainwashed people.
Hmm.
I'm glad that you know some things about the shin. But what do you call it? Yes? Now that we've said the shin, yes? What do you call it? Just do a simple search on the internet. What does the shin symbolize in the Kabbalah? Do a search right now.
Okay.
And what are you going to find?
Let's see. The
Apart from
numerological.
the name of God.
I
Apart from the
found.
name of God.
Yeah, the numerological value of shin is 300. If we make the addition
But
of
what does it
21,
symbolize?
uh, well, let's see.
Let's see. Then you'll soon start to understand these secrets in many secret societies, how they're doing, because black magic exists. Yeah, I was going to write about that, but then I thought I'm going to have to be careful in how I write about black magic, because what if some people use it? There are many books that write about it, but most of the writers are careful. Because black magic, believe it or not, exists. That's why some people could read your palm. That's why some people can get some things and know things about your future. Some people can come in your dreams and other things. Do you know these things? It exists. So the book 33rd Degree shows just the basics of black magic, of how they're using symbolism. That's the beginning through the penis, which is not a joke. But anyway, this is what the shin symbolizes. Yeah, you could read it.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, fire. Yeah, fire for sure. So transformation. The
Fire.
21st letter, shin, is the letter of fire and transformation. Both
Good.
the tooth
That's
and
great.
fire meaning. Yeah.
Now, now I want you to focus on the shin. I
Okay.
want you to focus on that letter and use your brain and then think. Imagine, yes, they're using it in Hebrew. Now, imagine if you're in England and you're a 10-year-old child, you looked at that, what are they going to say that is?
The W, right? That's what I think
Good,
a
good,
Westerner would
good,
think.
good, good. Now, WWW, the fire, the beast, the 666,
Right, because
then the
300.
shin. So now the thing is, the shin is actually seen. What do you call it in the Bible? It is seen. What do you call it? Yes, in the Bible. Yes. What do you call it? The shin represents one of the names of God in the Bible. Do you know this?
Mm-hmm.
This is how in the Bible it is. It's God is known as Shaddai, or Shaddai, however
Shaddai.
you want
The
to say.
Shaddai.
Shaddai is your choice, but it depends. If you're in
Oh, okay.
Germany or Yiddish,
Shaddai. Okay.
yeah, or what do you call it? Yes, the fire. Now the thing is the fire and the spirit, and when you think of Shata, the Muslims don't say Satan; they say Shaitan in
Right.
plural. That's one. Then when you think of Shin and the fire, soon you're going to see which religion is the enemy of Christianity in the Masonic sense and in the Kabbalistic sense, because they are saying the Shin symbolizes the name for God.
Well,
So who is it?
for that particular Shaddai is like the title of like the destroyer of God, right?
Destroyer, yes, the burner. So
Right.
now, but the Shin symbol stands for the name of God. Many people don't know this. Unless if you've studied advanced Masonry, you will understand this, or advanced Kabbalah. Yes, and remember the Kabbalah didn't come from the Jewish people. Yes, or the Talmud. So now the Shin stands for God. Yes, or their God in the 33rd degree, and it stands for fire. fire worship. That's your god. It's the Shin. Now you try and think, use different pronunciations, and think the people who are opposed to the 33rd degree and who is opposed to the Shin and the fire. Think carefully, and then you will understand why masonry and masons in many companies, governments, politicians, why nobody likes this religion or these people around the world, because they are opposing the Shin, and the Shin is the fire. It stands for the fire, and their god is from this fire. Who are these people? Think. Can you think?
The people that are you're talking about the Muslims, or you're talking about the people that hate the Muslims? Which
It's
side?
you try and think. Who will you think of? Who has condemned anybody who worships the Shin?
Uh, I think you mean, like, are you talking about Muslims? Or are you saying like this is like because the West seems to be against Islam and Islam is against the destroyer? Is that what you're saying?
No, I'm not saying it. You try and think.
Well, I mean,
Haven't you guessed yet?
it just seems like in any circumstance we think of the demonology, right? Is that what you're saying? Like the jinn? Is
Yeah,
that
the jinn, and the leader of the jinns is Shaitan, according to the Quran, Shaitan.
okay? Because
And the
Solomon is the
jinn,
master of the jinn, and the jinn shin.
yeah,
Okay,
and the
okay.
jinn,
Wow.
wait, now because we are looking at the Muslims on the other side, what we know is that when you mention Spain, it's because they don't want to mention Spain or Portugal or France or Italy, where Arabic was the official language in Europe in the Middle Ages in
Hmm.
many of these
Of course.
places.
Yeah.
And
Je.
what
Je.
happens?
Yeah.
Yeah, when the Muslims say jinn, what does that become in
J-
Latin alphabets? How do you
yin.
pronounce it?
Yin or hin.
From
Hin.
jinn, you could read it there,
Yeah.
Spanish
Oh
to
well. Yeah.
Latin.
Yeah. Sheen. Yeah. Sheen. If you're in South Spain, like Catalan, right? So sheen.
It's shin if you're in Latin,
Yeah.
and it's a jinn if you're in the Spanish Arabic, Andalusia. You
Right.
see.
Yeah.
So when the Muslims
Which
say
for
jinn,
any of our listeners who don't understand is like 20 miles from itself in Spain, like where they would be speaking this way.
no, not just 20 miles. We're not talking about Spain. Don't forget, the Muslims are in Bosnia. The
Right, but I
Muslims
just
were
mean
in Italy.
there's a point where these sounds intersect.
Ah, yes, true. Yes, where they intersect. So then it changes. So now, as we can see, yes, many people don't open the Bible, but it says that the patriarchs of the Bible, the ancestors of Jesus Christ, did not call God Jehovah. They called him, yes, Shaddai.
Right.
So now now the thing is Shaddai. Yes. What do you call it? Yes. The thing is they're saying that God is represented by the Shin, and the Shin represents the fire. Now, the Quran says, oh, these people are worshipping the jinn or they're worshipping the fire and Satan, but they don't know it. And that's what Freemasonry understands. And Freemasonry understands and explains this in Albert Mackey's and Albert Pike's books. Even though they're a bit expensive, but when you understand uh, these things, then Initiates of the Flame, you even know that, don't you? Who's
Right.
that guy who wrote? What's his name? For the a major Freemason, Initiates of the Flame. What's he called?
Manly P Hall. You mean?
Manly Hall. Yes, that's that's the guy. And he even says when you have Jehovah, yes, all you do is you add the shin in between Jehovah, and what do you get? What do you invent?
Yashino Yashino.
Yeshua.
Wow.
Yeshua.
Yeshua.
Yeshua. So
Yeshua.
they
Yeshua.
invented the name. They
All right.
invented the name Yeshua. That's why I showed in many European languages, in Welsh and many other languages, they said Isa. In Latin, they said Esau. You know,
Right.
society Esau, Jesuits. So they invented the name Joshua, and they put it in the Old Testament, Joshua the son of Nun, or the son of the nun, the woman who's a nun. So they say in the Old Testament, so they just duplicated the stories and fabricated it. But can you not see? That's what Manly P. Hall, anybody who reads his book, Initiates of the Flame, they're going to be spending money and time. And he doesn't even give the secret away. He just says, look, it's in your heart, Initiates of the flame, the ancient way, the most ancient order, blah, blah, blah. He quotes ancient Egypt, many of the religions, and they waste your time and Bolstein. And then, even after spending thousands of dollars, you still might not be able to figure a single thing out. But the thing is, yeah, him and some of the people who explain his works write down, and he says all you've got to do is add the shin. But many people haven't figured out the shin. Now go back to the shin symbol. Yes,
Okay.
I don't want to give the game away. Yes, I don't want to give the game away, but soon you will be able to figure out. Yes, the 33rd degree is a lot higher. We're just talking like just less than two or three pages of my book, my new book. So now when you look at the symbol, yes, it's like just from the symbol for the shin. One, it's like a fire.
Yeah.
Yes,
It's like a
and
burning
then the
bush.
other thing.
Yeah.
Now, imagine you're trying to invent a religion with this. How many gods can you make from the symbol of the letter shin?
How many? Say it again. How many combinations?
How many gods?
Oh, how many
Let's say you
gods?
will,
Okay.
yeah.
Well, I guess you
What
could.
would you naturally choose?
Well, three or four, maybe three.
Not four. You can see how many parts to the symbol shin there is. How many parts does it have?
There's three parts,
Three.
but
Yes.
there's
The
but the
Father, the
three
Son, and the Holy Spirit.
right, but that Trinitarianly would make a singularity, right?
Yes. So you
So
see
four,
three gods in one.
three and
This
one.
is
Yeah.
where they invented these things. And then, the Muslims have the beginning, the first sentence of the Quran, in the name of God, most gracious, most merciful, or in the name of God, the kind and the forgiving. So now over there, what they've done is in the manuscripts, they've turned it into the most gracious and the most merciful. They're playing with words in the Quran right now with Quranists so that then they can insert the Trinity or Trinitarian meanings or several things. But people have no idea how they did it from there. And you will say, are you being serious that they just thought of a symbol? It's more than a symbol. Yes, because you don't know how they did this. And the thing is, you can't even challenge them unless if you understand them. So now the thing is, imagine if you looked at the human heart, radiology or radio something or some shape. So now the thing is, if you did this, yes, did I forgot what it is. Yeah. Now the thing is, they're going to say that there's Manly P. Hall and others talk about similar things. They'll say, here is the human heart. Yes,
Uh-huh.
radiography or
Yeah,
whatever.
very good.
Yes. What do you see?
I definitely see the shin, right? For sure.
Not just the shin. So now you will see what they've done when they. Who was it that invented modern Islam? A modern Arabic hanging.
The Freemasons. Oh, and yeah, the Freemasons.
Yes, yes. So now when you look at, yes, the Allah symbol, Alpha and the Omega. Now please remember the Omega. You do remember it,
Of
yes?
course, yeah. The W, the
Yes.
shin.
So,
Oh yes,
so
takes me right back.
yes. That's why I've said that the Quranists are a danger. They are giving Masonic
Oh,
meanings using Masonic alphabets. And then when you rotate the Allah symbol, you have a 33. It's the number three when you rotate it, three for the Trinity. You don't know how much they brainwashed everybody from childhood in different parts of the world. You see. It's actually more deeper that I'm just showing you a few parts of the symbolism. It's like, believe it or not, most of these people in the Middle East, it's not just there, it's in the symbol too. It's like, so the thing is, you're going to have people like Jordan Maxwell saying it's ancient. No, it's not. A lot of these things are, they invented this history recently and everything. And then you will actually see that the symbol, yeah, there's different designs or patterns, but it's basically a three. This is the 33rd degree. This is the beast 666. People won't understand this. The 666 or the Dajjal or the Antichrist, many people are saying that, okay, Islamic history is a fraud. Yes, it is. What they call in Arabic language, we say history, they call it hadith. It's a fraud. But the thing is, because they modified it, many of the things already happened in the past. The Dajjal actually, or the Antichrist, or the 666 is already here. It's already here. People are living within this new world order system, and they don't realize it. They're already worshipping the beast. Yes, and they don't realize these things. And I don't think you can change anything. But you were going to say something. You were like shocked about the Allah symbol. That's the Omega. It's
Right.
the Omega in Greek, the Omega in Cyrillic. It's the W in Latin, the W in Phoenician.
I wish I could
Yes.
find the picture you have of the Alpha and the Omega from like the Catholic Church from the Jesus Europe episode, because that would be really good to.
Jesus Europe episode?
Jesus was from
Uh,
Europe episode that we did, and we show the Alpha and the Omega having the shin.
okay, let me see. Yeah, yes, I put this in the
Oh,
new
I
book to
found
me.
it. I found it. I forgot an old. I went back in the messages here. So Alpha and the Omega, which is like the delta over the shin, essentially. You've got the Greco delta for Alpha for the Aleph.
Well, well, the truth is, it's actually even worse. When they say God is the first and the last, um, and the unfortunate truth is, it's actually sick. It's based on sexuality, transgenderism. I mean, transgenderism, if you want to be a transgender, it's okay. But I'm saying when it's based on the penis sexuality, yes, I call it sick in the Kabbalah system. Yes, the sick or the 666. And the thing is, let me just show you, even in the Chinese religions. Now, this is in my new book. Yes, that I will let you see the Alpha and the Omega, or the symbol for Allah, and all these things. And soon you're going to think, oh my God, why didn't I know? Yes. So the thing is, as I've slowly brought it out, and the Alpha and the Omega spells Allah. So of course they don't like Islam. So what they did to Allah is, can you see the Alpha and the Omega symbol? Can you see it?
It's
The
loading.
alpha is
Yep, there it is.
the alpha is the letter A. It's a man. The
Right.
omega, the woman. You see, so they're saying God is the alpha and the omega, the first and the last. God is a man and a woman.
And this is also that's how I've known Slavic people who write their ones and their L's like this A, right? So
Well, the
without
L
a
is
lot.
a little different, but the number one, yes.
Yeah.
It's because the number one is alpha. We write it like that, the one, but with a longer line on the right hand side.
Right. But
But
like connected
like
to
the
Aleph, like so the
yeah,
consonant in the Aleph, yeah.
yeah, it's just handwriting. But the thing is, whoever designed these systems, from there they invented the Trinity, and that's why the Trinity or the Allah symbol is feminine, and the feminine thing is the shin, and the shin stands for the Shekhinah, and the
Hmm.
Shekhinah, if people understand it in the Kabbalah, where it says that the priests of God have sex with God, the female side in the temple, and they want to bring this new temple back to Jerusalem. Even the House Speaker turned around and said, "Hey, we've got the ashes, ash." That's another long story. The secret of the ash, or the cosmic ash lar. By the way, the Quranists, and many of them haven't realized they've removed the word ash from the word shaitan in Arabic from the manuscripts, so that the
Yeah.
Quranists will remove the meaning. It's a long story, but the more you look at this, can you not see it? That the Alpha and Omega is simply a man and a woman. Can you see
Hmm.
it?
Of course. Right.
And it's the Trinity. So that's what they've done. So then, when we look at these things and go further, it's like even the symbols, the W, the six, it's actually ridiculous. And you'll think, oh my God, did they planned all this 300, 400 years ago? Then I put the Chinese there. The Chinese symbol there stands for anybody, a man who's become a god at the 33rd.
Wow. So the
The
apotheosis,
Shia.
Xian is Whoa, that's
Yeah,
crazy. That's
you'll find it
insane.
in Taoism.
That's
So the
crazy.
thing, no, they put these same symbols all over the world. Do you
That's
see
a lot. That's a lot.
that? Yes. So that's why my this book. I told you these two books are amongst two of the best books I've written. If anybody understands these two books, and they read the rest of them also, then they're going to think, I can't believe this. I can't believe they've done this. That's when you will know Hebrew was invented just a few centuries ago. The Bible is 200 years old. They started it about 400 or 500 years ago, and then they finalized the version about 200 years ago, and still did a few modifications after that.
You're
That's
really
it. The
gonna
Bible's
upset
200 years
the
old.
Westboro Baptist Pentecostals, man. They're gonna be like, no, the Bible was projected out of a hologram from God, and it's immortal, right? Like you're gonna upset all these people.
Yeah. We hear this in all these
Come
religions,
on, King
unfortunately.
James was a good guy.
I'll admit it to you. When I was young, there was this. When you're young, we always have these fantasies of older ladies and older girls. So where I was young, and there was a Jehovah's Witness lady. She knocked on the door, and then I couldn't help it. But she's just like so beautiful. She's like a lady,
Yeah.
and it's like I thought, whoa, who is this? And so the thing is, the pineal gland, my pineal gland in my brain awakened at the 33rd degree that I was brainwashed into going to church with
Hey
her.
man,
So
at least the Jehovah's Witness know that you have to like correct errors in the Bible. Like they're in the process, at least, of trying to
they've
figure
said
out
there's
what the Bible
50,000, but
actually
the truth
says.
is, the Quranists do the same. They've said there's
Yeah.
there's errors in these translations, but the difference is, let me ask something now. In the last 500 years, you cannot find a single book. Let's say you're alive right now. What you say today, if you're recording this right now, then I will know what you said in 1,000 years time or 500 years time. But if you wrote down a book and then I think, I could make money out of Andreas's book, I change the words. You can't do anything. You're dead.
Yeah.
So now the thing is, you didn't. It doesn't matter any more copies. What am I going to do? I've got Daddy on my side. Crusades, Inquisitions, chop their heads off, rape their wives. Kill their sons, rape their daughters, the
And
little
then
children.
become a god in China.
Yes.
Become the Alpha and
But
the Omega.
anyway, let me tell you what the outcome will be. Yes,
Yeah.
I modify it every 5, 10 years, updated depending on how much money I can make and how many more peasants I can control.
Yeah, the New
Yes.
Living
So
Translation, right?
Yes. So now the thing is, you cannot check a single book from the Vedas to the Buddhist books to anything in this world, even the alleged Spanish records of American religions, anything. We've got nothing. They've all been modified. But
Yeah,
guess what?
we have no accurate original thing, and we're gonna constantly for the rest of time be
So
sifting through.
therefore, we've got no world history. But there is a strange book that nobody is paying attention to. Yet the book that the book of Revelation talks about
Hmm.
and Ezekiel, and they say there is a book of God that people have swallowed,
Yeah, apparently they eat
and
it.
that's the Quran, and nobody's managed to change it. Why I say that, the manuscripts have changed it, and they're saying, "Look at this, it's different," because the Muslims didn't write it. You can see these people were half naked. They didn't write any of these manuscripts in Saudi Arabia. Yeah, that was written by Masons, thinking, "Hey, we've got to get rid of this book because it says a different history." This book tells you about these things in the 33rd degree. It actually tells you. So believe I figured out these things because I read that book at a young age and I thought, whoa, it's totally opposite from how I've been brought up. Yes. And the thing is, yeah, there's 10% translation problems. That's why I told people, if you want to know, go to the mosques. Even it's not about if you like the people or not. Speak to about 50 different people from 50 different backgrounds and say, tell me what this book says. Tell me the history. I've got a translation here. Tell me. I want to know. I only live once. I want to know. Why do you say that the Bible is a lie? Why do you say these other books that Hindus are saying it's from God or people are saying it's from God? Why have you declared in your book that all these other books or whatever are lies? How
Well,
could you say
it's
this?
I think it's one of the main concerns would be like in the Quran, like you look at, like the Surah Al Baqarah or something like that, right? And it says, and you could say this is Quranisms where people are reinterpreting and making new definitions, but how do you reinterpret like and kill them whenever you overtake them, or things like that,
Oh,
you know?
wait, that's what I read too. When I read that, I'm disgusted by some of these things. Kill these people here, kill
Well,
them. I mean,
I
what
mean,
the
I'm from
hell is this?
California. I'm not disgusted, but I'm
Yeah,
off put. I'm
yeah.
definitely off put.
Do you know what it is? So the Quranists are trying to give a new meaning, and they're trying to hide these things.
Yeah, so I'm
These things
wondering,
are
what does that mean? What are they
yeah.
talking about in the
So do you
Baccarat?
know what? Yeah, I wonder too. So same like there's one of my local churches. I call it my church. There's there's a local mosque in my hometown, so I call it my mosque. So I will just go to this mosque and I'll ask not one. I'll think there's people there from Iraq, Pakistan, from Russia, from Germany, from Turkey, from Saudi Arabia. Yeah, these type of people. I'll ask them, hey, you've memorized the Quran, and then I'll read it out to them and say, what does this say here on this line? And they'll say, you have to read the full story. It's talking about these people here. They did this. They did these criminal acts. So now that they've done these murders and all these other things, you've got to go and kill them. Yes. Instead, it's like in America, it's the same law that this man's done multiple murders, psycho murders, or whatever. So now the law has got to go and find them, put them on trial, and kill them for what they've done. Yes. So it's a similar system in the Quran. It's nothing different. But now if you read the Quran, these so-called translations, at first I didn't understand. So that's why you have to go. It's an oral book. The Quran is an original book. Same like John the Evangelist, the fake story in Revelation. It says, here is the book of God. You got to eat it. It tastes good when you read it out. It's an oral book. And not only that, it actually says in the Bible that this oral book of God that came, it actually commands you shouldn't write it down according to the Bible. Do you know this? Right. So it's because when you write something down, you could change the meanings. You see?
So it's not so much that you have to eat it, it's that it has to consume you, in a sense. You have to be fully consumed by the entire thing to understand it all.
This is one thing. Let me just show you. It's because I see this new movement of how they're going to target people to convert people in Europe and America. I find it so dangerous. It's because the thing is, we could find millions of people joining Islam in the next 10, 20 years. Millions and millions of them, because they're going to think it's some other religion. Now, can you imagine if somebody becomes Muslim and then their children are Muslim, but their children join some other crazy sect or things? It's because the thing is, and their children study it further, and then let's say the Quranist movement dies after 100 million people converted. They're dead. So now those people who converted, their children are born into the religion. Then we've got a new problem. What if they join a new crazy sect comes out? That's why it's very important that people should know that these Arabic dictionaries were not written by the Arabs. Saudi Arabia was like half naked or more. Yes, these people couldn't even read or write Arabic. The dictionaries, yeah, even the Arabs said that news channel I sent you. Do you know who worked at that news channel? Have you heard of a guy called Jamal Khashoggi who was murdered?
Cannot recall.
By the Saudis and Donald Trump and everybody. There was an outrage, Biden or Trump or something.
Yeah.
International scandal. It's because the thing is, many of these, there was other people that are disappearing and things. It's because in the Middle East, they don't want the story to come out because you can use, many people can use it.
He was a cool guy. That was a kind of a
yeah, he was from that channel. He was from that channel where they're saying, hey, that these people, these priests, both sides, the people who are following the official history that they call hadith, and then the Quran is, both sides are using these dictionaries that the Jesuits and the Freemasons made. I mean,
Deuteronomist reform. It's also Eid Kabir right now, right? It's like the Eid al-Adha. So it's the feast of sacrifice of when Abraham was supposed to sacrifice his child right now.
Yeah,
Happy Eid Kabir.
Yeah, it was in the newspapers today, and somebody then told me, it's in 10 days' time. Yes, the thing is, when we say feast, it's just like Christmas when like Thanksgiving when you get a turkey and then you share it. If you're rich, then you 100 years ago people used to share it. So what they do is, I don't know many countries, but all I know is that in Turkey and in Morocco, I saw it, people buy a sheep. Because many shops are.
Yeah, because it's supposed to be the time when you're going to sacrifice your son.
No, they don't do a sacrifice.
No, because God says you don't have to sacrifice your son. It's like you have to say you're willing to do it, though.
No. That's our Western impression. I was surprised. I was surprised that Islam doesn't allow sacrifices. Like they want to sacrifice a red cow for the temple and then use the burnt ashes. Notice the fire and the ashes. Like, do you know what the Quran says? It says God doesn't want your sacrifices or anything.
Yeah.
It's like the thing is, if you're killing animals for food. Now, when you kill animals, give it for poor people. I mean, half the world's people, or at least a quarter of the world's people, are still like semi-starving, a quarter. So the thing is, in Islam, they've got a system from Mecca whereby when people do this pilgrimage or something, I checked this. People can check this themselves. I checked it just last year because I thought they had a sacrifice too. Last year was when I checked it properly. Yes, what they do is that what they do is a cow costs $1,000. It's not $1,000 is your money. So now, if you want to prove, so in Islam, what they have is something called the ceremony and ritual for Hajj. Yes, some people, the Quranic say it's invented. I don't want to know if it's invented or not. We invent everything. Languages, we invent cars, we invent our own lifestyles. But the thing is, what I found out is what the Muslims do is that they go there and they'll kill a cow, and it costs $1,000, and what they will do is they show God that they've changed from a material, selfish society. Like, for example, it's like there's millions of people that need feeding in Eastern Europe, millions of people that need feeding in Africa, millions of people in just South America, just across the border. Yes, millions of people in Asia. Yes, so the thing is, let's say if you want to prove you're a good person and you've just gone there once in your life and you're saying, sorry, I'm old, I'm going to die, I've always been selfish. I'm going to buy 1,000 cows. That's $100,000. And what they will do is they will get the cows, and then they're going to not sacrifice it. They're going to say it's that person's intention, saying, "I've done this for the poor people because I want to change. And I'm asking God for sorry for what I've done. I'm exchanging for my sins." I'm doing something good to replace the bad. Same like if I've got a girlfriend and I've just pissed her off, I've shouted at her, yeah, some perfume, do something good.
Get some flowers.
Give and take.
Yeah.
Yeah, give and take. So that's
Give
what
and
they do.
take.
The Quran explains it, saying God is not looking for the blood of an animal or anything. He wants to see if you've become a good person and what you've become. And the purpose of the death of the animal is, yes, the thing is, when we go to McDonald's, they kill the animal on behalf of us. That's it.
Yeah.
So the
Right.
thing is, in Mecca, they've got not McDonald's. You could call it, Saudi Mecca or Saudi McDonald's or whatever.
So it's
Some
not a
organization.
jubilee, but well, I guess it is a jubilee. So it's interesting because
No,
you have a
no, no, no.
jubilee,
The
removal of
main purpose
slavery, and an end of sacrifice, and then
they're just
then the
doing
blood
these
atonement.
internet meetings. I actually spent one of these sacrifices in the Sahara Desert. I stayed there once, and I saw it myself. And then I saw them take the sheep skin. I thought, oh my God, they're like recycling it or something for the wool and everything else. I thought, oh my God, I don't know how they're doing it. A woman's like brushing it, cleaning it for hours, the hard manual work. I thought, how can they do this? I mean, we don't even do any work. Yeah, we don't even see the animals getting killed. Yeah. And
Right.
the thing is, many of the animals that we have now, it's actually become like it's actually animal cruelty. Let me just show you, and you will actually think it's cruelty the way they're even feeding the chickens.
Of
Whereas
course.
compared to half the Muslims now are still poor. Yeah. Well, I'm not trying to praise their poverty, but it's like they have chickens in their houses. The chickens run around like
Yeah.
your dog, your
No, there's
pets.
definitely something to say to halal. Like halal food is often a lot better, and there's a reason because it's
And
not just a
kosher
chicken's like
is
a
as well.
battery that's just storing up all the
Not just
suffering
chicken,
toxin. Yeah.
even the pork. A
Yeah.
lot of the pig farms in South America or in China, the pigs aren't allowed to go out. They're just stuck inside the building all their life, and they're just eating with the machine giving them food. Don't you know this?
Right. Well, I also read something interesting recently, which was talking about halal and kosher, and the idea of that it's not necessarily about not eating pig. That might be a
Yeah.
mistranslation of not eating what pigs leave or like make or something, which
Mm,
might be like the mushrooms left in the wake of pigs, which is also
yeah.
interesting to say because that could connect to this as well. The idea of consuming the book that they're saying,
Ah,
some people are not supposed to.
The main thing is I mentioned is about the animal rights. It's like if you want to eat pork, that's your life. Now, if you think it's bad for your health, that's your choice. If you believe in a God and you say, hey, it says in the Torah or the Tanakh that I cannot eat pig, that's your choice. Yes. So the thing is, but I'm saying for the animal rights, I mean, they still have the traditional pig farms that we had in the 19th century. That your kids wake up in the morning, they're throwing them the chicken feed, they play with the chicken, run around with them, things like this. They get fresh air, and the thing is, these days we don't see these things anymore. It's like basically we're just breeding animals that are stuck in cages or in buildings
Yeah,
all their
traumatized
life.
and filled with like
Yeah,
hormones of suffering and
yeah.
fear until
It's
you eat
like
that.
because of that. I'm not a vegetarian, but it's
Right.
like just this year I think I ate meat only on 3 full days. Yeah, it's 6 months into the year. 3 days, that's it. 3 times I've had meat. I haven't had chicken at all this year. That's 3 times because I was in a restaurant and everybody ordered together. So I thought I'll leave it. I'm not going to say anything because it was a business meeting. So I thought, hey, I don't want to get in. Money comes first. That's why the 33rd degree comes first, you see. Yes. So, business comes first.
That'd be a
Yes.
good musical. 33 comes first. I
At
like
least,
it.
at least I've been honest and said, hey, I forgot about animal rights that day. It's because the 33rd degree comes first.
Yeah.
So the thing is, if people want to understand the 33rd degree in shortcut, they could read my book there. Or the other one is Secrets of the Kabbalah, if you want to understand the Kabbalah. The Kabbalah is a totally different subject, but I've made it simple to understand what it is, who they are, and what they think they are and what the 33rd degree is. So these two books go through it better than anything else. But
Epic.
anyway, Andreas, I think we've talked quite a lot today. Yes, I hope I've covered everything,
There's no way
many
you
things.
covered everything, but there was a lot of stuff you
Oh,
covered.
yeah, there's too much. Yeah, there's many things I've not mentioned here. So if anybody thinks he didn't mention that, yeah, sorry, there's many things I'm
Shocker.
dying to mention, but
Right.
I can't fit it in. And I thought I don't want to divert. There's just too many things.
Well, let's not
But
wait a year to do another one. I'll try to get this up like today, and then we'll talk soon. And hopefully, in a couple weeks or a month or something like that, we'll come back because we could definitely
yeah,
go harder to part two. I think people are ready. We've been obviously studying. Even the audience knows some things about the
are
Kabbalah
you
now.
sure you think people are ready?
Well, there's at
People
least
are so
there's
brainwashed.
just so many people in the world. There's got to be come on, Lord. If I could find one person in Sodom and Gomorrah, or 10 or something like that, would you spare him? You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah, maybe. Yes, yes, maybe many people are awake. We don't know. But the thing is, what do you call it? The 33rd degree. It's like it's a very big secret. So are the secrets of the Kabbalah. If people want, they can buy the entire collection of Masonic books or Kabbalah books. It'll cost them thousands and thousands. By the way, believe me, this subject is expensive. But the thing is, if you ever get to understand it, maybe it's worth it. My father understood the Kabbalah. He understood the 33 degrees very well. And the thing is, if you understand it, it does help you make a lot of money. And unfortunately, you can use it for your own advantage for marketing to, brainwash people to make money. I remember many people used to say to me, saying, "Hey, David, you brainwashed me." In business deals. I'm not joking to you. Many people said it. It's because once you understand the 33rd degree or the Kabbalah, yeah, many people say you're more successful in life. That's why many people join organizations such as the Masons and many other things. Yeah, they join because they're trying to learn. But the thing is, you can join by learning. That many people join and don't even learn anything. And many of these organizations are saying, buy these books here, buy that. You could join the Masons, carry on buying the books, read for hours and days, whereas other people just naturally understand these things. Some people naturally understand it about these principles. But the thing is, the magical aspect, I've not put it in there. And maybe I'll write about it one day because there is one step further of how the people in power are using a lot of magic. Yes, and they put it in the construction of many things in the world: construction of languages, construction of even the buildings, even in the art that we see. That many things they're saying it's natural art or nice art, and people are saying, that's ugly. Why have they put a square here or a triangle or a circle or something that has no meaning? But they've done it because they know what the meanings are. Yes,
With that
and
Sephiroth
they
up.
yes, go on.
I was just saying the Sephiroth, just everywhere you look now, I feel like there's
Why?
references.
Yeah, if you knew about the Sephiroth and more of these things, if you read these books, and you are going to think, I just can't believe this. It's a total joke, the world we live in. But before you read them, I hope you do have a bit of a background knowledge of the Kabbalah basic and the basic about the 33rd degree, because, maybe you should read my other books first for a basic background to it. But if you've read many of the other books, then you're ready for these two, and then I think this is amongst the highest knowledge that you could go ever, amongst the two of the highest. Yes, yeah, yeah, amongst two of the most highest things. That's why they say the 33rd degree is the highest. Yes. Mm. I would classify myself as 33rd degree. Yes, once you know it. Yeah, maybe I'm wrong. Let people judge. Who knows? I'm not a Mason. Yes, if I'm a Mason, then I'm my own Mason. You see that
You'd be
I
in a
don't
lot
need
of trouble if you were a Mason. I feel like that's one
to.
bummer with the whole Masonry thing. That you can't tell people stuff
Why
for whatever reason.
people don't like it? People don't
Yeah.
like Masons.
No, well, there's
I
that
don't.
too. I've noticed that, but I think we're living in a post shame world at very least. I think the main
I don't
issue
blame
is
them. I
just
don't
the
blame
idea
them.
just
Why?
the idea of being able to keep a secret is like counterintuitive
I
to a
mean, I don't
podcaster.
blame them.
Yeah.
I don't blame the people. Why are they so secretive? Why are they involved in all these companies and politics? And why do they get better jobs and higher positions? What is it that they know? Yeah. I mean, well, many people will say, David, you're naturally 33rd degrees. Yes, and because you know what many of these things already. And yes, of
Yeah,
course,
Albert
that's why you
Albert
get
Pike
some of
called
these
it
businesses.
Mason at sight, right? So
Called
master
it
mason,
what?
a master mason at sight. You could be Mason at sight,
Yes, who
right?
said he even existed? My books go through it. Albert Pike, he didn't write his books. So somebody else above them. So the truth is the Masons are nothing. By the time you understand the 33rd degree, you'll notice that they're just an organization that somebody else is controlling.
The
Yes.
Dread Pirate Roberts.
You will be shocked. It's like the more you learn about these things, you'll think, oh my God, I thought I was 33rd degree, I'm at the top, but there's some other people who are above me. I'm talking about in the real world. I'm not talking about the degrees within the square and the circle. Within the square that's made out of the circle, it can't go beyond the 33rd degree, realistically. Yes, based on the current beliefs of who God is within Masonry. Yes, based on that. But I'm talking about in the real power structure in the real world. Yes, people will realize that the Masons are nowhere near the top. They're just like the Jesuits. They're controlled by somebody else above them. And Albert Pike, Albert G. Mackey, they didn't write these books either. Soon people will realize them once they've read them. Anyway, Andreas, let's leave it at that. Yes?
Oh, David. Let's definitely do it again soon. Everybody listening, I hope you find David Ewing Jr. interesting. This was a 2 hour taste of many things that you could find out about by reading his books. But also, if you visit Act Like You Know 26 on YouTube, he has a number, I think dozens now, of episodes with Raphael that are fantastic. So I would recommend those as well. Thank you,
Okay.
David. I'll see you soon. Come back
Okay,
soon.
I'll see you too. Yeah, have a nice day.
Take care.